Good afternoon. Thank you for coming along. My name's Joanne. I'm Dr. Jo Tarasuik. I'm the Research Officer at Playgroups Victoria. So I'm there to research what's happening at Playgroups Victoria and help inform the practices we do so we can do lots of activities with our children that they thoroughly enjoy, but they'll also help their development. In case you don't know what about playgroups, playgroups is something that parents or carers can attend with their children in the years leading up to school. It's an informal environment, but it's there to help the children learn, parents to meet each other, and just to have a good time. Mostly people attend up to the age of 3, but sometimes people continue to go through kindergarten as well, so all children prior to entering school. It can be beneficial for the children. They have lots of fun doing different activities. It's also great for the parents who can meet other parents with children, and they can see the different activities that they do with their own children and have fun. And it's also great for creating a nice community environment, community development, so you can meet each other and find out what activities are happening in your area and what resources and services are around for you. So we're here today to talk about learning through play. I'll talk to you about the home learning environment, so what's beneficial to have in your home to help your child learn, some different types of play, free play and playful learning, and also the concept of intentional teaching. Okay, it's never too early to start playing with your children. From the time they're born until they're 3 years of age, they will actually create more than 1,000 trillion new brain connections. Here's an image of an illustration of a baby's brain at birth and at 6 years of age, and you can see just how many different connections it makes. In the first 5 years of age, what they learn can help shape their future. And the activities that they do ongoing, like repetitively, can actually help make the foundations for their future learning as well. And therefore, it's very important and very beneficial to your children to spend time together, enjoying each other's company and helping their development. When your child is very young, there is not really the necessity to buy lots of toys. You yourself can be the best toy your child can have. And it can be simple activities like playing peekaboo or where's your nose, like getting them to mimic what you're doing. When they're very young, you yourself are actually the best toy your child can have. There's a nice saying here that I like. Play is often talked about as though it's a relief from serious learning. But for children, playing is serious learning. Play is really the work of childhood. But don't worry, your children aren't going to think they're learning a lot when they're playing. They're just going to enjoy themselves. The learning just occurs in the background. Your children are not going to come home from kindergarten and say, oh, I engaged in some problem solving in the sandpit today. I used my developmental mathematical skills to arrange the blocks. And then I negotiated with others to have a turn on the swing. So all of these things just happen in the background. As much as they're using these skills and learning these different things, they're not thinking about them. That's just happening. They can just enjoy themselves. And we've been researching play and learning for a very long time now. There are many books and many journal articles out there illustrating how children can learn through play. And one of the important things with learning, as we will all recognise as adults, that you cannot learn something unless you're engaged in there. You need to have your attention on the task to be able to learn. And when you're playing and enjoying yourself, it's much easier to hold the children's attention, and therefore they will learn much better that way. But really, that is the way they do learn in the early years. And there are many different types of play. So it's not like you need to do the same activities with your child over and over again to get them to learn. And for some people, certain aspects of playing will be more suited to you as a parent than others. So some personalities will really enjoy doing the artistic types of play with their children. Other people will like to do some construction or some active play. And different types of play can have different benefits. And there are also different activities within the types of play that can help them learn different skills. For example, when you're doing artistic play, your child might be expressing themselves. They'll be putting their ideas out there and showing you what they're thinking. It can help them learn different skills as well. Like if you're playing with paint and you have some yellow paint and some red paint, together you have some orange paint, so your child will be learning about colours. And then as parents, you also learn things like you might want to put the yellow and red paint down, but if you also put the blue paint down, suddenly you have brown. So you'll soon learn to only use two colours that make a nice third colour together, so you don't have brown paint every time. So it's all about doing things that work for you and your child together. And you can see here all the different things that you can, different types of activities that you can undertake. So you can just choose the different things that work for you. Playing can occur inside and outside, and all different types of playing have learning, and here's some examples that can occur inside. We have some creative play, which some parents might prefer to call messy play. We have construction here, where the dad's building something with his child. We've got some people doing I'm a little teapot in the bottom corner, so that's singing and dancing. Singing and dancing and doing nursery rhymes is great for literacy skills and helps children learn prior to learning to read. We also have pretend play, where these children are having a cup of tea with their grandmother. So they're acting out and pretending to be somebody else. Outdoors, we can do some of the similar activity, but we can also do some different activities. Like water play, for example, is probably better suited to outside. And with the warm weather coming up, it's a great way to keep children cool and play together. And there are lots of different things you can learn through water play. We have another picture up here of construction, but this time, instead of using tiny little sticks, the children are playing with blocks that aren't actually much smaller than themselves. So they can learn about building and angles and balance and all different things with lots of different types of tools. We have some imaginary play, or might call it cooking, down the bottom. And there you can see some messy play that's outdoors. These children have paint on their feet, and they're making a big, beautiful canvas by doing some footprints. Okay. When it comes to learning in the home, setting the home learning environment is the first step. There are different aspects to the home learning environment too. First, there's the physical environment. So that's what you put in your home. If you think about buying or providing stimulating, engaging, and developmentally appropriate toys, books, and activities, that's the first step, and you'll find everything else much easier. Secondly, it's the interactions that you have with your child. So what you do with all of those toys will make a difference as well. And finally, outside of the home, there are other learning opportunities. So you can take your children to places like the library or other stimulating environments. Okay. There was a study that came out a few years ago about the home learning environment. And I do love the quote in here that says, "It's what parents do that is important, more so than who the parents are." So the quality of the home learning environment is more important for intellectual and social development than a parent's occupation, education, or income. It also shows, this study shows, for example, reading with a child, teaching them songs and nursery rhymes, painting and drawing, playing with letters and numbers, or visiting the library. They're all things that were associated with higher intellectual and social and behavioural development. So once you've got the home environment set up, children can play unstructured. We call this free play. So the children do exactly what they want. It's child-directed. The children can use the activity according to their developmental stage. There's no predetermined results. There's nothing they need to achieve or nothing they actually have to finish. They're just playing with what they're provided, using their imagination and getting out of that whatever they wish to. There's nothing they have to copy, and they can just make whatever they feel like. They might pretend to be an elephant, they might pretend to be a doctor. They could be anything they feel like. And when you want to slightly change the environment, you'll find that their play will also change. When they're playing by themselves during free play, they learn to do independent thinking. They also learn to engage themselves and be able to entertain themselves, which as parents is very important for your children, I'm sure you'll agree. When they're doing free play with other children, they learn social skills. They learn how to collaborate with other children, and sometimes it's necessary to learn conflict resolution. Some children will have natural leadership skills, or they might build up leadership skills by playing with other children. But they'll also find that playing with children who have those leadership skills, they'll learn to follow and take advice from people which they often don't have the opportunity to do other than their parents at the earlier stages. The second thing I'd like to talk about with the home learning environment is the interactions that children have with their parents. It's all about playful learning. One interesting thing that I'd like to point out is the concept of intentional teaching. So when you're playing with your children, if you think about what aspects of learnings there are associated with activity, you'll be able to play with your child and pick up different aspects of development that you would like to enhance in that child. Think about the learning and the learning opportunities that come with that type of play and what are appropriate for that child's stage of development. Once you work those out, think about different ways that you could promote these. It's really the easiest way to do this is think about what already interests your child and find ways to build upon this and the things that they already know so you can relate what they're learning to stuff that they already understand. The concept of scaffolding, we often think about that to do with buildings, so something that holds the building up to support it. But you can scaffold your child's learning. It's all about supporting your child's learning. So you're guiding the train of thought that your child is having. So you can keep them engaged in a task and point their attention to the parts that you think are most developmentally important or what might interest them the most and keep them engaged in the task. It's a lot about asking the right questions. Like rather than simple yes-no questions, say, so what does this do? How does that work? Why is this doing that? And sometimes it might be a simple yes-no question just to work out what they do and don't understand. But then you can follow that up with a question to get them to explain to you what they do and don't understand and get them to think about it a bit further. And in addition to the task that you're undertaking, that also helps their speech and helps them explain concepts. There's a particular study that I'd like to talk to you about called the Block Talk study. In this study, some children aged 3 to 5 were playing with their parents in some blocks. The children were separated into 3 particular groups. One group, the children and their parents, were given some blocks to play with and just asked to play with them, just as though they would do at home. The second set of children and parents were given some set of blocks, but these were already pre-arranged into a structure, and the structure was glued together, and they were just told to play with the structure as they'd like. The third group was given some blocks, but they were given some instructions. They were pictorial instructions, kind of like you get from IKEA. So it had some pictures, and then a number 2 and some more pictures, number 3, and the final product. So the idea was for the parent and the child to talk through these instructions and build the model. And from the 3 groups, the researchers examined the way the parents and the children spoke to each other. And even though they had the same resources given to them, there was a big difference in the spatial language between the groups. So the groups that had the group we're calling the guided play group, the one that was given the instructions and the blocks that weren't already made into a structure, had much more spatial language. They were talking about the size of the blocks and the length and how many bits there were to connect and how far along to connect them to. So this study illustrates that even if you have the same resources in your home, it's also the way that you discuss things with your child. It can impact what they do and don't learn from the activity. There was a fabulous event recently in New York called the Ultimate Block Party. They had lots of different exhibits there to help children up to school age learn about different concepts related with science and technology. This particular exhibit was the Lego exhibit, and as you can see, they had hundreds of thousands of blocks, but they were all green blocks. But lots of children will refer to the colour of the block when they're picking them up and say, I'm going to put a row of green and a row of red, and they'll say, can you pass me another yellow block? But here they couldn't do that. So this was done intentionally, and the idea was to encourage children to consider the spatial aspects of the blocks when they were discussing the activity of building with their parents. Block play, in fact, is a very interesting activity that you can do with children from a very young age when you're playing with mega blocks. And then they have the slightly smaller blocks, Duplo, and then when they're a bit bigger, you can use Lego. And at all different stages, there are different skills that the children can learn. And I think it's a fabulous activity to consider how the same tools or the same object can be used at different stages of development to enhance different skills. When they're very little, it can be the fine motor skills, the idea of placing them together and clicking them together. Or it may be as simple as grasping and lifting up the blocks and placing them together. The hand-eye coordination is also important when they're lining them up to get them to go together. When they're a little bit bigger, they might be able to sort the blocks by colour or size, or perhaps if they're fancy blocks, the function of them. They might be able to match them by colour or the different functions, and perhaps when they're a bit bigger, they can be able to create a sequence from the smallest blocks to the largest blocks. Building a tower involves lots of different skills. They can learn all about physics. They can explore weight, stability, equilibrium, balance, and even leverages. Playing with blocks is also a fabulous way to consider problem solving. If you have a structure here and a structure here, and the princess needs to get from here to the other one, she might need a bridge to get across. Or the door of your building might be here, and the floor might be here. So how's the character going to get up to the top? You might need to build some stairs. So there's problem solving involved, and there's also pretend play that could be involved. So construction has a lot of different aspects. Aspects of construction can be involved in a lot of these different skills. There's also literacy skills. Some blocks have names on it. You might have police station or school or hospital, and the children might learn to recognise those words, or perhaps the first letters of those by seeing them on the blocks. But one of the biggest things is the spatial aspect. So when they get larger, they might start talking about the height and the weight and the area of blocks. So as you can see, there are lots of different aspects of learning that occur through block play, and they vary across a child's age and development. As I mentioned earlier, I'm from Playgroup Victoria, so I just wanted to finish by saying Playgroup is a fabulous place for children to learn and play together. Younger children can also learn from the older children, because playgroups often exist from children from 0 to 5 there. And while the younger children can learn from the older children also learn new skills by helping the younger children learn. And furthermore, the parents can see other parents playing with their own children and can learn different activities to do with them. And the Playgroup Victoria website has different activities on there to help you think of ideas to do play learning activities with your children. We've been around since 1974, and in Victoria we have approximately 54,000 children from about 40,000 families attend playgroups each week.